right, welcome to another episode of Not Suitable for Adults. It's the podcast where we watch shows and movies that we made for kids, but we, the grown-ups, go, I don't know about this one.
We do that, and sometimes we also go, what the...
Yeah, we do a little scratch. We scratch our heads like,
what are they talking about?
What even is this? And I'm Rich.
I'm Natalie.
We're coming so close to our 1-year anniversary of podcasting.
When is our 1-year anniversary?
Our first episode was released on
November.
On November 30th.
Yeah, this year has run all together, hasn't it?
We already passed our, Twitter gave us like a, hey, congratulations on your 1-year Twitterversary. Because I was already kind of like getting our stuff set up before we got started.
Oh.
But I was like, but I didn't start tweeting until after the first episode went out. So I think we're going to just prepare. Like this is the first time you're going to know for sure what we're going to do. I think we're just going to talk about some of the stuff we talked about in our first episode.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Do it again. Maybe do whatever our question of the day was again.
Mm-hmm.
Because we were still doing question of the days back then. We kind of ran out of questions and started doing different activities.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll talk about the shows that we talked about back then and maybe talk a little bit about the show itself. We've done so many things since then. Like we've been on now a bunch of guest appearances where we talked about sort of the beginning of the show. So maybe if you haven't had a chance to catch those, first of all, you should go check out all the shows we've guested on because we've had a lot of fun with a lot of other hosts, I would say. But also, maybe you haven't heard sort of the story behind where we got started. So maybe we'll talk a little bit about.
Love it. Let's do that.
Thinking back to the beginning, but that's not this week.
No.
This week's just a regular old episode.
Yes.
And
as regular as we can make it.
And I think we didn't do a good job of talking about it much beforehand, but I think I'm going to go first.
Okay.
Because I don't have the thing I'm going to go over isn't huge.
Okay.
But we did realize, so one thing that we haven't done as consistently lately is actually review shows that Cora watches.
Mm-hmm. Because she really only watches like a very small handful of particular shows.
A little bitty handful of shows. And so we typically go out and find other shows that are close to her age bracket or that just look interesting and they're not like intended for teenagers. They're made for kids. But there's a show that she watches pretty routinely that we haven't gone over. Mm-hmm. And that is Pencilmation. Yes. Now, Pencilmation is a show that appears to... I tried to do a little bit of research on this because I didn't know much about it. I've only seen it a little bit. She only sees it on YouTube.
YouTube Kids.
It's
one of those things that pops up like if we turn Ryan on, which is every day.
That's most of it. I think it pops up for Ryan because of the EK Doodle channel. Yeah. EK Doodle, if you're not familiar, and we haven't talked about it yet. I'm not sure if we have or not.
Did
we talk about it when I did my
Ryan deep dive? I believe I talked about EK Doodle.
Okay. So quick recap. It's basically just an animated channel or an animated show about Ryan's younger sisters, Emma and Kate.
But it's doodles. It's
little stick figures.
It looks like somebody has drawn them.
And that's what Pencilmation looks like. So I think that's why that comes up. It looks related. Mm-hmm. So I tried to do a little bit of research here. And it sounds like at one point it was on some obscure web channel. And I can't even find it again now where that originally turned up. And I also can't get a consistent answer on when it started. I've seen articles that say it began in 2004. I've seen ones that say it started as recently as 2009. Here's what it looks like. It doesn't even have its own Wikipedia page.
Wow, this Pencilmation, it's an enigma. We didn't realize it was.
I had to do some very serious digging, actually. I'm glad I decided to make this a week that I do a little bit of pre-work on it because I wouldn't have been able to just quickly Google it and find it.
Yeah.
I'm on a website called Terrible TV Shows.
Ah, okay.
And they do kind of a wiki style thing for shows that they think are terrible.
Okay.
And this is on there. It says Pencilmation is an American YouTube animation that uses 2D animation founded by Ross Bollinger. But then parentheses that say, but I wouldn't say he's responsible for it. Because it sounds like maybe he kind of began this thing and then it just took off. And maybe some other production company went with it. It was originally, according to this website, created in 2007, but they didn't start putting it on YouTube until 2009. And then in 2017, early 2018, it made the roster of shows that would be shown in YouTube Kids. And that kind of made it, that kind of lifted it off. And now it's become more popular because... So
there's a random, 8 years in there that it was on a different... format, or not format, a different... What am I thinking of?
No, yeah, it was posted online. It sounds like it was on, so it was posted to YouTube in 2009, but it didn't really start getting popular until the last couple of years. Because it got sucked into the YouTube Kids algorithm.
Oh, because it got into the YouTube Kids. Okay. I wondered if, America suddenly decided they liked pencil animation suddenly.
Maybe. I will say the couple of times I've watched Pencilmation, and watched is a very loose term, it's been on and I have seen that it's on.
Right.
But I'm doing something else usually.
I just want to say this. We do monitor what our kid is watching.
Yeah, we don't leave her in front of the TV or something, but frequently we'll say, yes, you can be the one watching a show, and we'll either be doing something else or we'll watch something on our phones or we'll be around the house, whatever.
She'll get the run of the big TV for a hot second.
Yeah, for a little bit.
So when we're saying we're not really watching it, we are sitting there making sure she's not watching something inappropriate or for her age or something like that. But also we're not watching it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna read off the terrible TV shows wiki page for Pencilmation has a section that I assume is on there for all the shows that they list, which says why it sucks. and they have 10 items on that list, and then 3 on a list that says redeeming qualities.
Okay.
And I want to read those off here in a second because I haven't had a chance. I haven't watched this show extensively, but I will say that I've seen a couple of times things that are not strictly inappropriate. So there's no it's a cartoon. They're mostly stick figures and pencil animated figures. But there have been a couple of times that I've seen something that I was like, that, if a kid knew what was being portrayed, it might be even considered mature. Let me give you an example. There's several characters. Let me tell you the general idea of the show. The general idea of the show is there are these pencil animated characters, and early on at least, the idea was that they would be going about their lives, and the pencil itself of the animator would be making their life harder. So it would be erasing stuff or drawing new things into the scene. And that was kind of the idea. And it seems like more recently, it's just these characters interacting with each other. It's not about that anymore. The main characters are this one guy called Pencilmate, and a female character called Pencil Miss. And they're the main kind of interacting characters. There's several others too. But those are the main ones. So here's an example. I saw one the other day. I don't remember what started off the episode, but Pencilmate was having a dream. And we're about to have a parenting break, I think. All right. Parenting break over. We're dealing with a maintenance issue in our place.
Well, also I had to wipe my kid's butt.
That too.
Okay.
Anyway, I was saying something about the Pencilmation people. So I was saying that I had seen a couple of things that made me I don't know. And so one of those things, for instance, was Pencilmate is having a dream in this one episode. I don't remember why, but he's having a dream, and he walks in to a bathroom like he's going to take a shower, and then he opens the shower up and Pencil Miss is in the shower and she gets out. Now, there's nothing graphic in this show. So, like, they don't show anything. I think she has a towel around her. But, like, the implication is she was in there. And she steps out, but there's another Pencil Miss in the shower. And then she pops out, and then a third Pencil Miss is in the shower. And they all get out. And Pencilmate kind of reacts to, like, oh, there were 3 ladies in the shower. As a dude. As
anyone would. What did he like make a face? Or?
Yeah, he made kind of a face. I feel like I can't remember the whole thing. I feel like he reacted like almost like kind of an ooga kind of thing.
Gotcha.
And then the dream was over. And like I said, I think a kid like wouldn't understand what that's about, but that's borderline mature content.
Yeah. I noticed on that one, there's been a couple of times where there's been some like potty humor.
Yeah.
Like toilet jokes.
Yeah. One of the things on the Why It Sucks list, and I'll read all this here in a second, but like there are several times when like Pencil Miss will like fart in Pencilmate's face.
Really?
Or things like that.
Why are we letting Cora watch this? I never noticed any of these things.
Well, I just found out about some of these. The main complaint I've had about it.
Maybe they're not showing all of them on YouTube Kids. Maybe some of that content is taken out.
My main complaint about Pencilmate isn't it's not a disqualifying thing is the problem. It's that when he gets like really concentrated, or if he gets like really scared, or if he gets really concerned in an episode, they go to this really like chaotic animation style that's reminiscent of like, you know how sometimes, and this is the thing that people complain about for like SpongeBob, you know how sometimes SpongeBob becomes much more realistic and like he'll get like a really wrinkly face and it's gross and it's potentially kind of scary looking.
Yeah, I know what
you're
talking about.
There are multiple times like that the animation style switches to something like that for Pencilmate. I want to read the Why It Sucks list.
Okay. Partly
because I think that this is valid information, and partly because whoever wrote this did not write it very well.
Okay.
Number 1, much as you would have expected, they have clickbait with inappropriate thumbnails, such as one stickman about to get drilled, and that same exact stickman actually twerking behind a stick lady.
I don't think any of this content has come up while Cora has watched this.
I don't think so either, but it sounds like it's out there.
Okay.
Pencilmate in number 2, Pencilmate in the modern videos looks nothing like a stickman. This is a terrible complaint. Looks nothing like any stickman. No other stickman would have a solid color circle as their body.
Oh, come on. I know what stickmen are.
Number 3, they show weird and creepy expressions to the point where it makes awful show design. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Number 4, almost every plot for all episodes are either just childish, cliched, or even disturbing. Let's see. I'm trying to... They give several examples here. Okay, like one says, Pencilmate pops some popcorn, and somehow the popcorn becomes alive. However, all of them burn in a very horrifying and terrible way.
Okay.
Which, yeah, I mean, that's that kind of thing. Like, it might even be a funny cartoon, but, like, that's kind of creepy. Number 5, some have different designs in animation, which just looks rigid. So, complaints about inconsistent design. It's not really a big problem. One video contains the issue of clickbait. Like, it talks about clickbait, which is ironic and in a way hypocritical, considering the channel does clickbait as well. Number 7, their videos are so long that they had to put so many ads for revenue. Which is, I think, that's not a problem on YouTube Kids.
I think on YouTube Kids, a lot of this is shortened or edited or taken out because I've never seen anything inappropriate happen on these.
Here are some character problems. It says, number 8, Pencilmate is an annoying idiot who causes trouble everywhere he goes.
That's called a kids show.
Number 9, Pencil Miss is a bully Mary Sue cliche who always beats Pencilmate and gives him a hard time.
That's called a kids show.
And number 10, so many gross out jokes and thumbnails. Here's what I was talking about, such as the one with Pencil Miss farting in Pencilmate's face. I don't know. I haven't seen that. And then redeeming qualities. It says, number 1, most of the cartoons that the channel makes actually have good animation.
Okay.
Number 2, some kids may enjoy it after all, despite the weird clickbait thumbnails. They mostly don't have inappropriate content, unlike many other kids' channels.
Their redeeming qualities are going against everything they said were bad qualities.
Yep. Number 3, back then, they used to be down to earth and weren't so money driven.
So money driven?
Yeah.
Who's they?
I don't know.
They used to be down to earth and not so money driven. Sharon.
Whoever is in charge of Terrible Shows, the Terrible Shows website, just great job overall. You're doing a super. This has turned into a bit of a critique of this particular wiki page. I will agree with some of the things that it says, though. I think that it's one of those shows that would be like perfect for little kids if occasionally it super wasn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, what it sounds like is kind of, you made a parallel to SpongeBob, and it seems like
it's maybe a
good
little
parallel.
Similar to,
yeah.
So that's Pencilmation. If you want to check it out, I agree with one of the redeeming qualities. I actually think the animation style is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. You always kind of see the blue lines in the background like it was drawn on notebook paper.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is, I just think that's cool. And
I like it too.
And the original idea of a cartoon character who, and I think I've seen this, I think I've seen some of these, the ones where the pencil and the artist are like, it's Pencilmate versus the artist.
Yeah.
That's an interesting
I like that
idea especially for a short. Yeah. And that's what these are. These are designed to be shorts. And they're not like an ongoing story. It's not like you see Pencilmate evolve. It's very classic sort of cartoon strip cartoon.
Yeah. I would just say now, I guess keep your eye on it, because apparently there are some episodes that have, some weird stuff. Some weird things. I've not noticed Cora ever watching anything in particular that I felt was too much, but when even on YouTube Kids, you need to be aware of what your kid is watching. Yeah, for sure. So this is like a solid 5 out of 10. Okay. For me, like it's not terrible. It's definitely not the best. You could choose, like, if it's like SpongeBob, just watch SpongeBob. Like if it's like these other things, it feels like a worse version of a bunch of other things. Mm-hmm. But if it was on the TV, it wouldn't be the end of the world. Yeah. If that makes sense. Yeah. So that for me is Pencilmation. Okay. Should we take a break? Should we pull over in Promoville? Sure. Okay, here we go. That's my car pulling over. I think you need to have your car looked at. And we're back. Hey, Hey, you. Hey, people out there in the world. Mm-hmm. Last week we talked about it, and if you follow us on Twitter, it happened. There are Promoville t-shirts now. Yes. Because once Rich decides that he wants a certain type of design of anything, he goes and designs it. I just thought it was fun. It's an all text t-shirt. It's not like super, it's like the best designed t-shirt in the whole wide world. I'm not saying that, but if you want to support Promoville, then there's a t-shirt for that. And then you can find it on our Twitter page or on our page at podchaser.com. You can see us linked to our TeePublic account. Natalie, I believe you have something for us this week as well. I do. Do you know what it is? I don't think so. No, I don't think I told you what it was. You didn't tell me. Well, after doing my deep dive of the Muppets, I decided, why not do just a not similarly deep dive, but kind of a more abbreviated deep dive of Sesame Street. Okay, kind of like a spin-off deep dive. Yes. Okay. That's exactly what I mean. Love it. I did not watch Sesame Street. The end. All right, this has been another episode of Not Suitable for... As a kid. As a kid, well, you know what? Now that I think about it, maybe my mom said I did as like a preschooler.
I'm sure that at some point in your childhood you absorbed some Sesame Street.
But I don't remember it
but you didn't regularly watch it.
But you said you did, right?
I think we did when I was really little. I watched it a fair amount. Mm-hmm. Not as much. I don't have
not
a lot of.
Not as much these days.
Yeah, not like when I really started getting old.
Yeah.
No, what I mean is, it was primarily when I was very young that I saw it.
Well, that's its main audience, anyway.
And then it's not something I have a lot of memories of watching.
Gotcha. Well, some people have very, very substantial memories of Sesame Street. Okay, so I'm just going to do this kind of quickly. I didn't go like super deep into this one because I'm not as interested in the Sesame Street.
Sure.
What do you call it? Franchise?
Sesame Street gang. As
the Muppets gang.
Yeah.
So I just kind of did a little bit here.
Okay.
So if you don't know what Sesame Street is, here's what it is. It's an educational children's TV series that is live action, sketch comedy, some animation, mostly puppetry.
Yeah.
It is produced by Sesame Workshop, known as the Children's Television Workshop, or CTW. So I might say that again in a little bit. So CTW is was what it was produced by until the year 2000. And it was created by Joan Gans Cooney and Lloyd Morissette.
Okay.
I felt like they should get shout outs because, I mean, it's freaking Sesame Street.
It's a big deal.
Can you imagine having created Sesame Street?
I cannot.
That's just insane to me.
It's a lot.
It premiered in 1969. It had mostly positive reviews. Some reviews that were kind of like, but it had extremely high viewership. It has aired on PBS since its debut. Its first run moving to the premium channel HBO in 2016, and then it moved to HBO Max in 2020.
Man, HBO's been making some moves lately.
So interesting to me, HBO having Sesame Street, because when you think of HBO,
yeah,
you don't think Sesame Street.
No, you think of Game of Thrones.
Right. You think of adult content.
Yeah, sexy content.
So with the creation of Sesame Street, the producers and writers used for the very first time, so this was 1969 when it came out, educational goals and a curriculum to shape its content.
Smart. They
did formal studies on education before they started writing this show. So it's gone through a lot of different changes and adjustments due to the educational changes that have happened since 1969. I'm sorry, we're doing this a little bit at a different time of day tonight, so more parenting breaks are needed during this one. So what I was saying was, since 69, it has had to go through all of the ebbs and flows of history and educational changes and everything like that to reflect those different studies and that different curriculum. It was initially funded by government and private foundations.
But now it's made possible by viewers like you.
But has sort of become more self-supporting due to licensing, sales, media, that sort of thing.
A billion toys, basically.
Yes. In 2001, there were over 120 million viewers of various international versions of Sesame Street.
Yikes.
And by the 40th anniversary in 2009, it was broadcast in more than 140 countries.
That's legit.
Yeah. In 1996, a survey found that 95% of all American preschoolers had watched the show by the time they were 3 years old.
Wow.
In 96. I don't think Cora has ever watched Sesame Street. She knows who Elmo is.
Yeah.
She knows Elmo because she plays like some Elmo games on her tablet sometimes.
And she had a toy. Was it a puzzle? She had a toy that was Sesame Street themed that had Elmo and Abby Cadabby and Big Bird.
Yes, it was one of those magnet baby toys. Yeah. But I don't think she's ever sat and watched an episode of Sesame Street.
I wonder if she'd like it.
Don't know.
Never will.
In 2018, it was estimated that 86 million Americans had watched the series as children. So...
Okay.
Yeah. So that was in 2018. So if you kind of, say an adult is... I'm not going to do any math or anything. But a lot of people had watched it as kids.
Yeah.
Also, as of 2018, it had won 189 Emmy Awards.
Wow.
11 Grammys. More than any other children's show.
Well, when you've been running for that long.
Yeah.
Is it really so impressive when you have such a long running history?
This year began its 51st season. So. I said it before, but there's no other word for it. It's legit. 2019 was its 50th anniversary, and it had produced over 4,500 episodes, 35 TV specials, 200 home videos, and 180 albums. Its YouTube channel has almost 5 million subscribers.
Wow.
Yeah. And now it's on HBO Max, which to me is just, that's just so funny to me.
Making that HBO money.
So after its first season, the critics asked the producers, researchers, writers to address more society issues.
Yeah, more social issues.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I could not think of the word, such as like diversity and resolving conflict in non-aggressive ways. Stuff like that. They were addressed through different disputes among the Sesame Street characters. During the 80s, it incorporated the real-life experiences of some of the show's cast and crew, including the death of Will Lee, who played Mr. Hooper.
Okay.
And the pregnancy of Sonia Manzano, who played Maria.
Okay.
To address, it just addressed real life things that happened to those people. Also in later seasons, it addressed things such as September 11th, and it addressed Hurricane Katrina.
Sure.
So it just, since that first season started, they started really, along with the education, bringing in more social conflict and stuff like that kids would grow up seeing and not maybe understanding. So they helped with that. Shortly after the CTW, so that was the production company, was created in 1968, Joan Gans Cooney, who I said was one of the creators, was named its first executive director. She was one of the first female executives in American television. Her appointment was called one of the most important television developments of the decade. So she was a pioneer for us ladies.
Wow.
In television. She was one of the very first leaders of female leaders of television.
That's amazing.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Also, according to the CTW's research, the children preferred watching and listening to other children more than the puppets and the adults.
Oh.
So they started including kids into their scenes. At first, they didn't want kid actors. Not at first.
Just like child participants.
They did not want child actors, period.
Right.
So what they did was they got kids, non-professionals. They were not scripted, and it was completely spontaneous for these kids. So a lot of the reactions that the kids were having during these scenes were difficult to control and unpredictable.
Right.
So the adult cast had to learn how to handle and get flexible and kind
of drive a scene towards the goal.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Even when the kids started talking about something different, they had to figure out ways of leading these kids to talk about the issue at hand. Which is really cool to me that these kids were able to participate in this and weren't told what to say. And that's also cool for a kid to see, I feel like. It's really fun for a kid to see another kid just being themselves.
Yeah, just talking the way a normal kid does.
Yeah, not having words put in their mouths.
I don't know. What do you mean, Elmo?
Right. Right, exactly. So, that's a really cool thing about that. That's, the other little things that I have written down are, do you know where Sesame Street is located?
You mean like where in the world fictionally it's
where
located?
Where fictionally it is located.
I guess I've always assumed... Okay, here's the real answer. I've always thought of it as being in New York.
You would be correct.
Okay.
It is 123 Sesame Street.
Yeah.
It is a fictional brownstone building that is located in Manhattan.
The reason I've always thought of it as being in New York is because of the stage, the Tony Award-winning musical Avenue Q, which is not suitable for children.
Not suitable for children.
It is for adults, but it's a spoof on Sesame Street, and Avenue Q is located in Alphabet City in New York. Yeah. And so I've always drawn that parallel because of that play. Or not, I guess not always, because that musical came out when I was in college, but in recent years.
So that brownstone house is, just little random trivia here for you, is a 3-story building with it's a 3-story building including a basement with 3 known apartments in it. The first floor was the Robinson family, and Elmo moved there with his family in season 46. The second floor was the Rodriguez family. At first, Maria lived there on her own until she married Louise and had Gabby. Buffy would come and live with them when she came to stay. And Bert and Ernie lived in the basement. So that's who lives at 123 Sesame Street. Also, this is completely random. I just found this and I thought it was fun. Oscar the Grouch's trash can is much deeper than anyone suspects.
No kidding.
In the first episode, Gordon mentions that the trash can had 3.5 bedrooms.
That's funny.
Anyway, I didn't, in this one, I didn't mention too much about Jim Henson and the whole Muppets thing because I feel like I covered that beforehand. But, of course, he was a huge contributor to Sesame Street for a number of years.
A contributing creator.
Yes. Also, Sesame Street, if you guys remember, they are not Muppets.
No.
Muppets came from the Sesame Street idea.
We were watching that episode of The West Wing, and we got to have this discussion.
Yeah.
Because there's an episode where Mrs. Bartlett, like, wants to get back into it, like, be more in the public eye again. And they're like, you should go on Sesame Street. And they talk about, and they incorrectly say that the members of Sesame Street are part of the Muppet gang, but they're not.
Well, then Abby Bartlett says, actually, did you know that they are not Muppets?
Oh, did she say that later in the episode? Okay, maybe I missed that.
She says that. She says, they are not Muppets. Actually, the only one that really goes back and forth is Kermit the Frog, and he's the only Muppet that really does much on Sesame Street.
And from my experience with Sesame Street, I don't remember Kermit ever being a part of Sesame Street.
Now, that's what I remember Abby Bartlett saying in the fictional...
Right, if we trust the West Wing as a source of true facts.
Right. So, but if I remember my Muppet episode that I did, I believe I mentioned that Kermit the Frog was around during Jim Henson's Sesame Street times, and he then decided this Kermit and Rolf would be a whole different thing. Not a whole different thing, but Sesame Street.
Own thing.
Sesame Street was the original children's version of the Muppets, basically.
Yeah.
The Muppets came from Sesame Street as a more mature and adult version of Sesame Street.
Yeah.
So there it is. There's just kind of a little bit of a shortened version of Sesame Street. I don't have very much nostalgia when it comes to Sesame Street. Yeah. One story I do know is that I believe so when I was about 2 is when my mom was pregnant with my first brother.
Yeah.
And any time, so I would usually watch Sesame Street in the morning. So that's why I said I don't have much nostalgia, because I was 2. I would watch it in the morning, and that's when she would be sick most of the time.
Yeah.
So anytime after she had stopped having that morning sickness, whenever I turned on Sesame Street, she would go throw up.
Well, there you go. It's a little Pavlov's dog kind of thing.
Yeah, it would trigger some nausea in her when Sesame Street came on. So that's probably why I don't remember it, is because she was like, this show makes me throw up.
Let's watch something else, yeah. Which, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. But anyway, a lot of people have very good memories of their experiences on Sesame Street.
I mean, there's a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of real world stuff that kids have to deal with.
Yeah.
That sometimes parents don't even know their kids are needing to deal with.
Right.
And so this isn't like a let the TV raise your kid kind of thing, but like having something that is wholesome, but that also deals with conflict. That's a good thing.
Yeah, sure.
That's something that's a healthy thing. Yeah. And Sesame Street's a great example of that.
Absolutely. You can find it on HBO Max.
Yeah, you can find
Sesame
Street.
I believe it's always and forever going to be on PBS, but
if you want to like rerun it and stream
but if you want the sexy version,
ooh, Sesame Street Nights.
Go to HBO Max.
HBO Max is doing such smart stuff. We don't have HBO Max, but they made some smart moves in the last couple of years when they started like. It's weird because I feel like HBO kind of started as like the grandparent of streaming services currently, but then it got totally overrun. And now that they finally really and truly got into like the streaming game, they're like, if we're going to do this, we need to own certain shows.
Yeah.
So that this is the only place you can come to find them.
Yeah.
And so like you can't watch Friends anymore unless you're watching HBO Max.
Yeah. Which makes me a ultra sad.
I guess maybe it probably still reruns on TBS or something. Like it's syndicated somewhere, but if you want to stream, you can't. It used to be on Netflix, not anymore. Now it's HBO Max.
Yeah.
So anyway, maybe one day we'll have HBO Max and we can talk about the shows that are there. Dare to Dream. Oh, also I wanted to say, you were talking about the songs that have come from Sesame Street, and I just wanted to say that occasionally, even now as a grown-up adult, even though I didn't watch this show very much, the Rubber Ducky song,
oh for sure,
totally gets stuck in my head.
Rubber Ducky, you're the one. Yeah.
That totally, and not like I'm not even anywhere. I don't see it; just pops into my head.
Yeah. Well, Cora has rubber duckies in her bath sometimes, and that's when it pops in my head. I go, Rubber Ducky, yeah.
So anyway, this has been another episode of Not Suitable for Adults, and we thank you so much for going on the ride with us. Man, I know I said it before, but we're getting so close to our 1-year anniversary, and I can't believe it's been so long. If you've been listening to every episode, which is only a handful of people... But if
our
you
most devoted listeners.
But if you have,
Catherine.
or even if you've just joined us recently, you're a huge part of this journey for us, and we thank you so much for making us feel like continuing to come back and share our silly thoughts on these silly shows. Be sure to listen. We don't do this enough. Share our show with someone,
please.
You know how much you like the show. Just imagine how much someone else could be liking the show.
Yeah.
So you can do that by sharing it on social media, or just tap someone very safely. You're masked.
Tap someone safely.
But if you're next to someone, if you happen to find someone that you love, or even that maybe you don't even know them next to you, and you're like, "Hey, you need to know about this podcast I'm listening to. It's so new and so."
You're
young.
in the line at the grocery store, standing 6 feet apart, and you go, "Hey,
yeah.
Hey,
I need everyone. May I have your attention? Everyone must know about this podcast." Or if someone asks for a tip, just say, "Here's a tip. Listen to Not Suitable for Adults." Don't be that person. I shouldn't even ask for that. But yeah, please share the show with more people. We would love to have even more listeners, just for fun. And
it's for fun.
And don't forget, now we have merch. So we had merch before. It was really just a t-shirt with our logo on it. But now we have that logo t-shirt, and we also have the Promoville t-shirt. So get over there. I think we have stickers of those things too. So if you're like, you're not into the t-shirt scene so much, but you'd still like to support the show, we do stickers.
Decorate your laptop.
Slap that bad boy on your car. That'd be a great way to help us out. That would be huge. You can also go ahead and rate and review the show if you haven't already. You can do that on iTunes. You can do it at podchaser.com, which is a really great place to go and check out podcasts. They're adding lots of new ways to interact with podcasts more and more. So check out podchaser.com. We are not sponsored by them. I just like them. I think that's all I've got. Do we have any other housekeeping before we get going?
I think that's it.
All right. Well, we're just going to keep encouraging. We know a lot of people are feeling a lot of different feelings. It feels like we were talking about this today. We're not a political show, so we're not talking about politics.
Nope.
But it seems like a lot of people are in a very relieved state of mind, which is infectious.
It brings me, no matter, I mean, because we're not a political show, I don't want to get into what anybody's real feelings are. No. But it brings me so much joy to see people having so much joy right now, because 2020 needed a lot of joy.
Yeah.
And I'm finding that most of the people, most of my friends on Facebook and everything like that are very happy right now, and that makes me very happy as well.
Yeah, it's regardless of anyone, like, of any feeling about it, just the fact that it feels like there's a weight off so many people's shoulders, and that, like I said, it's just infectious. Like it feels like everyone's not in such a bad mood anymore. Like,
right? Yes.
And so that's a great thing. So if you're experiencing that is wonderful. Please just get a whiff of that good feeling. Put on your favorite show. Just don't forget, you're still the boss.
So watch whatever you want.
Alrighty, goodbye.
Bye.